If we actually get really technical with this whole area of opposites, it gets really interesting. Opposites A and B, we can do three things with them. We can put them side by side. We've just looked at some of those, where the laugh comes from the obvious oppositeness of them by looking at them both at the same time. That's the side-by-side version. Or we can swap them over. We can put A where B was and B where A was. That gives us what we call a reversal joke. What was the best reversal sketch ever written in a show called Goodness Gracious Me? You know that the English people love to go out for an Indian, so the reversal on that is what if Indian people went out for an English? So what you then have is an Asian family in an English restaurant ordering the blandest food they can possibly order to try and outdo each other. One of them actually says, no, I'm just going to have a curry. And they say, you can't have a curry. You're in an English restaurant. You've got to have a slice of bread or egg and chips. So it's a reversal of concept. So that's what's happening when we're swapping A and B over. We're putting B where A was, A where B was. And then we've got the really interesting one, which is where we actually remove A altogether and put B in its place. And that's a substitution joke. A disappears altogether and is replaced by its opposite. So in a brilliant sketch show called Big Train, there is a substitution sketch as follows. Simon Pegg is in this sketch. He's with his girlfriend. They're in Africa. He hears an approaching stampede. The ground begins to shake. Dust on the horizon. Gets closer and closer. We start to imagine a herd of buffalo, stampeding buffalo. It gets closer and closer and closer. They clamber onto the roof of the Land Rover, and when the stampede actually arrives, instead of buffalo, it's about 100 Irish jockeys in racing colours. They haven't even got horses. They're just doing this. And Simon Pegg says, jockeys, something must have spooked them. Substitution gag. It makes us laugh because what's the most opposite thing you can possibly imagine from a stampeding, snorting buffalo? It's a little Irish fella dressed as a jockey. Matthews and Linehan wrote that sketch, went on to write Father Ted. Substitution gag. It's the one that you will have the most fun playing around with. It's the one that Eddie Izzard loves to use. It's the one that Noel Fielding out of Mighty Boosh loves to play around with. It's the surreal daddy of tools. Substitution. There was a running gag in that episode. Came back a bit later on. We were back in Africa and a David Attenborough voiceover kicked in and said, sometimes the jockeys are hunted by predators. And the camera pans across on a long lens and we see what appears to be a big cat coming through the grass, creeping up on the jockeys, and it gets closer, and when the grass finally parts and we reveal what this big cat is, it's not a cat at all, it's the artist formerly known as Prince. On all fours, stalking these jockeys. Substitution gag number 2. What's the thing that's the most opposite you can possibly imagine from a lion? It's a small, effeminate pop star. And the guy that they cast was brilliant. He looked exactly like Prince as well. So not only was that a substitution gag, but it was a runner.